Eury Perez is making his return for the Marlins on Monday.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for 3 seasons. Go hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. And before we get into today's episode, I want to remind you that it's brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. The weekend is over, and that means starting the week with Loud Miami fan. Welcome in. How we doing?
It's another wonderful Monday. I'm excited. I'm going on a boat today for the week. I'm not going to be able to watch Marlins baseball, which could be a good thing, but I'm going to miss our main topic in the first segment, which is Eury Perez's return. So it's going to be a fun week, and happy Monday to you, Jeremiah.
Happy Monday as always. LMF, I am excited. I got to tell you, Eury Perez, one of the game's most talented pitchers and somebody that we haven't seen in a big league mound in just about 2 seasons since 2023. He's going to make his season debut off of Tommy John surgery against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I encourage all Marlins fans, first and foremost, watch this game because Eury Perez is as talented as they come, and it's so awesome to see him back in a Marlins uniform. My initial thoughts are just watch and just take it all in. Just see the environment, see how he fares. I mean, even if he struggles a little bit, it's okay. You know, it's not going to be the end of the world, but I'm just excited. It's just excitement right here. And in a season in which it's starting to fall away from the Marlins, this is certainly a bright spot with his return.
It really is. We all were rooting for Eury in 2023 when they mistreated him, sent him down, brought him back up, etc. In 2024, unfortunately, he was having a great spring and then got injured. So unfortunately, we lost him. Now we get him back, and there's a few things I'm going to watch. One, as you said, look, give him an opportunity here. It's Tommy John. Yeah. But you get to compare his return to Sandy's, right? You get to see 2 guys returning from the same injury, 2 guys who are super close. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they communicate and how they interact. And I'm going to watch into that.
Yeah, I think the other thing to focus on is the command. We saw with Sandy Alcantara struggling with command for a little bit after his return from Tommy John this season. He's starting to find it, though. I want to see how Eury just attacks hitters, how many 3-ball counts he gets into, because he has the strikeout stuff. There's no doubt about that. I just want to see him attack the hitters, and that's the main thing I'll be watching as LMF has disappeared for a second. He'll be back in a second. It's exciting. You know, the Marlins, the last few years have proved to be really good at developing pitchers. Eury Perez is a homegrown talent. He was an international free agent. We didn't trade for him. And I take a sense of pride in that. You know, this is our guy. And he's still so young. I believe he's just 21 years old, 22 years old, where the sky's the limit. You have him for so long. There's literally no rush. And the Marlins are going to be extra careful when it comes to handling his workload. That is one of the pitchers I don't want to see go into the 7th inning, 8th inning of baseball games. I really don't. I want 5, 6 clean innings. You know, when that pitch counts around 90, 95, all right, take him out. Let him ease back into it, get confidence, and just showcase what he's got. Because I got to say, he's probably the most electric pitcher that the Marlins have had come up through their system since Jose Fernandez.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting how they treat him, right? You're seeing pitchers being pulled after 69, 70 pitches. You see pitchers being pulled just after the 5th inning. I think he's going to fall right into that. There's 2 guys that are untouchable. It's really Agustin Ramirez at this point in trade talks, and Eury Perez. They're not shopping them. They are the future of this team, and it's going to be fun to see how Ramirez catches Eury. I don't think that they've had that opportunity being when Ramirez got here, right, to really be able to catch Eury Perez at all. So it's going to be fun to see how our future interacts there. Eury is the future of this pitching staff, and they have to treat him like that. You're not going to have Sandy much longer, even if after this season, Weathers is eventually going to get dealt. But you're going to have Robbie Snelling up here. You're going to have Adam Major, and you're going to see Eury lead that staff into 2027, which we and you have talked about as the year we believe this team will be ready to be competitive in the division. So it's going to be fun to watch. I'm excited for him. I spoke with him last Sunday at the ballpark. I stood behind the dugout, had a couple words with him. He's excited to be back, and I'm just happy for him. I'm ready to see that smile come off the mound after the 1st inning of no runs. But we are going into Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just swept the Phillies, so
yeah, they
are not a rollover team. I don't want everyone to think, okay, we're going into Pittsburgh. This is going to be an easy series. It's going to be an easy Eury win. No. They are on fire after last week. And it's going to be interesting to see how they play against us after we beat them at the beginning of the season, 3 of 4 games, right? We set the tone. Let's see how this series goes, and I'm excited for Eury.
And I don't think any series for the Marlins moving forward is I'm going to take a step back and just say I'm going to expect the unexpected because this team got swept by the Rockies. So no series is easy. On paper, yeah, I'm like, oh, the Pirates, those are some good matchups for our pitchers. But hey, once you get swept by the Rockies, it's hard to let that go for a while. But we also get Sandy. Sandy is pitching on Tuesday. I think that's really cool. Eury Perez, the future of this rotation, like you said, Monday, Sandy Alcantara Tuesday. I mean, that's awesome to me. That I'm really excited.
It is. We talked about this on the last show, I believe, and the one before that. I forget which. They so much fun being with you on Mondays and talking to the fans last week. We talked about that, how their interactions and how Pablo Lopez and Sandy pushed each other back in 2022. I expect the same thing as these guys are coming back together, we'll say, in Tommy John. They're going to push each other to be better men, more competitive, and it's just going to be interesting to see.
Over this past weekend, the Marlins battled against the Tampa Bay Rays in the 2nd edition of the Citrus Series. Very close games throughout, but ultimately they lose 2 games. They only win the 1. So they haven't won a series in a while now. I think you lost to Tampa, Rockies, Giants, Padres. I can't remember.
Angels.
It's been a while. Angels, the Angels series. That's right. But there's a lot of things we can talk about. I want to give a quick breakdown of the last few games of this series. That's coming up right after this. And this episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better-for-you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. There's a couple different options when it comes to Wonderful Pistachios. You can go with the no shells variety. You just got the bag right there, whether you're watching a ball game, you're on a road trip. It's easy. Just open it up and you don't have to crack open the shell, throw away the shell. But if you like the classic in-shell variety, they got that as well. And a lot of people do. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein. It provides all 9 essential amino acids, and they pack a protein punch. What's not to like about them? You can literally eat them anywhere, and it's a perfect, healthy snack. So if you like Wonderful Pistachios, you're interested, you want one of those snacks for when you're on the go or when you're just chilling at the house, Wonderful Pistachios is the snack that works as hard as you do. And you can get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch by visiting wonderfulpistachios.com. If you're an everyday listener to Locked On Marlins, I appreciate you for being part of the Locked On Marlins crew. If this is your your first time checking out Locked On Marlins, then hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, does us a lot of good over here on the network. And we got to break down this series versus Tampa Bay. It was a strange one because the middle game, it was a barn burner, just an absolute slugfest. The Marlins took it 11-10 in extras, but the first game of the series, Tampa wins 4-3, and then the last game, Tampa wins 3-2. So each game was decided by one run. My initial thoughts from this LMF, consistency. I want to see consistency across the lineup. We saw a really great game from some players on Saturday. Jesus Sanchez with 5 RBIs. I love seeing that. But then the bats just kind of go dormant in Sunday's game. I want to see that consistency kind of come together. And then I have to also say the Nick Fortes and Ryan Weathers debacle that happened. That was just terrible. Only the Marlins could pull something like that off.
It's a very strange weekend of baseball. Starting with Friday, Xavier Edwards gets tossed at the beginning of the game. Let's talk about that for a moment. He was running in the line. I don't think he really got in the way. They called interference on him. I understand against the Giants when he kind of went inside when going to home plate. That was definitely and could have been.
It should have been.
But it was like a makeup call in a different game in a totally different series because Xavier Edwards was in line. And I think that kind of set the tone for the night. There's a couple things I didn't like about that play, we'll call it. One, he wasn't interference. He shouldn't have been called out. And that, was a run that we could have scored at the beginning of the game. What happened after is he got tossed. And Clayton McCullough didn't get tossed, didn't even come out of the dugout until after Xavier Edwards got tossed. Clayton should have been out on the field arguing with the umpires to set the tone for his team, saying, I have your back. He only did it after Xavier Edwards got tossed. I didn't like that. I finally became unrobotic, but it took that to do it. I'd like to see more Clayton McCullough getting angry and stick up for his team. That game was very close, as we said, very tight. 4-3 game. It happens. An interstate rival. We took 2 of 3 here in Miami. It's the first time that we won Saturday's game, which again was the slugfest. It's the first time we've tied. We'll call it the Citrus Series since 2018. So it's nice to finally tie it and not get our butts kicked by Tampa. Saturday's game, it was great, as you said, saying Jesus. Xavier Edwards came out on fire as well, really fighting back. Dane Myers had a good game. It was really a complete team effort to get that win. You lose the lead late, you come back. That Nick Fortes debacle, what was he thinking? Trade him to the moon after that. You don't throw a ball into Weathers' head. Look, I'm not a doctor. You're going to get a concussion from that. And he talked about, competitiveness. You become, and I hate this term again, I'm using it in a different way now, robotic, where your body just takes over. And I think that's what happened there. And that's why they took him out, because they realized, he's not himself anymore. Moving on to Sunday's game, Marlins should have won. We had the lead the majority of the game. Unfortunately, Beloso gave up one bad pitch, and it turned into a monster dong by, I think, Yandy Diaz. Was that
Diaz?
That's right. Ended up costing us tying the game, and then they took the lead in the 7th, and that's all she wrote. Let's get out of Tampa. Let's get out of that heat. I talked to Dane Myers a little bit. Let's just say I wrote something and he liked it. Obviously, he's busy, but I wrote about the heat. I said, I don't understand how you guys could play in that weather. I mowed the lawn on Sunday morning. Took me a half hours. I had to change my shirt twice. I was so sweaty. So, it was every day. Every day was a day game in that hot sun in Tampa. Let's go to Pittsburgh. Let's get some night games going on and relax.
Yeah, it was a strange series with the timing of the games for sure. Going back to the Xavier Edwards play, watching it on TV, at least, McCullough came out of the dugout at first and was pretty angry. He didn't get ejected until he went back to the dugout and then came out again. I think that was when he got tossed. He was out of the dugout twice. I did see a lot of people saying, he should have been ejected first and protect Xavier Edwards. I didn't see what X said to the umpire or at what time he said anything. But I was glad that McCullough showed some fire. I mean, we've talked about this. I've talked about this. He needs to show emotion and passion and not be robotic up there. It just seems like the majority of the season so far, whether it's a good call or a bad call, he just stays the same. He's very stoic, which isn't bad, but for a baseball manager at this level, you have to break that stoicism at some point and go out there and let the umpire hear it. Give him your money's worth, and that's what he did. So I wasn't upset exactly with the timing, just because I haven't seen this passion from McCullough before. Now he'll learn. He'll probably get ejected again at some point, and maybe he's like, you know what, I should have protected my player. I got to be the first one to get tossed, not Xavier Edwards. But at least he went out there and showed us something. And then let's see here, that the Weathers play. So this is the issue I had with that in particular. He gets hit in the head. I mean, that hurts. First off, that's really, really painful. There's no helmet. It's just your ball cap. He says to the training staff, I'm fine. Obviously, he wasn't, because given the weather, given that he just got knocked in the head, his velocity drops all the way down. My initial thought was it could be the arm. And that's just devastating. Anytime you see a huge velocity jump, you think of an arm injury. And thankfully, it was just, he wasn't feeling good because of the head injury. But why would the Marlins leave him out there? That was my issue. If you have any suspicion that, he's not okay, he could be concussed, out of precautionary reasons, just pull him and start Beozo, who had plenty of days rest, because obviously he wasn't okay. And I know the competitor in him is always going to say, yeah, I can do this and I'm fine. But you gotta make that decision as a training staff. I was a little bit shocked, actually, that they left him in the game to start with. But it was just a really unique, unfortunate set of circumstances. I'm sure he'll be fine. He'll be okay moving forward. Sunday's game, pretty slow. The Marlins, they jumped to an early lead, and then like it has been the last week or so, it just shuts down. Everything goes on cruise control. You can't get anything going. And it's redundant. I feel like I say this at least 3 times a week at this point, but you have to put the pedal to the metal. You can't just let up against a team that the Rays are a good team. You can't just score 2 runs and expect to win. You got to have more production, especially after a game in which you scored 11. I mean, the bats came alive on Saturday, and I was so happy to see it. They broke out of this week-long slump, and then everything returned back to the norm, and you just really don't like that. Xavier Edwards, though, coming up next, we got to talk about X. He is on fire at the plate, and also the pitching staff. We're going to evaluate the pitchers, the starting pitchers in particular, and look at the coming weeks ahead. What's next for these guys? What's our level of confidence in the Marlins rotation as it stands, especially with the addition of Eury Perez? That's all coming up right after this. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. Well, that's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on those tickets, you can get food, drinks, merchandise, or even invite a bigger group of your friends and family to come join the game with you. So Gametime, I love Gametime because the number one thing for me, it's the all-in pricing. When I look at tickets, I hate seeing all these extra fees, and Gametime doesn't have any of that. You just see the price, and that's what you're going to pay when you go to checkout. It's a huge plus. And the other really good part of Gametime is the clear seat views. You will see a map in which you can see exactly where your vantage point in the stadium is going to be. You're not going to be tricked. You're not going to be fooled. It's very clear, very transparent. So Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, and it's super easy to browse the app for any game, any Marlins game coming up. I encourage you to use Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. A reminder that Locked On Marlins isn't just on YouTube. It's on all the major streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music. It's perfect to listen to on the go. So make sure that if you can't watch us, you can check out the show on your streaming platforms. Now, Xavier Edwards, we got to talk about Mr. X, the X Factor, X-Man, because his last 15 games, he's hitting a cool 364 with an on-base percentage of 426. That average is heating up. It's climbing after today's game against the Rays. As we record this on a Sunday evening, 284. He was my preseason pick to win the National League batting title. He has a ways to get there, but that talent, that God-given talent for hitting the baseball is starting to come through in a big way. I love to see it.
It's great to see X be X, and I think the move to second base has helped him. And oh boy, Saturday night, electrifying game-saving plays in the 9th inning to help the Miami Marlins win the game. And it was or did we go to extras?
The 10th inning. It was the 10th inning. He made that play.
10th inning game. And it was 2 plays in a row where he just really stole the show, gunning out the guy at home plate. What a play. Got him like this. It was really just magnificent. And, of course, the play before that, he basically saved the game. In comparison to a closer, he saved the game for the Marlins with the defense. So it's nice to see him performing at the level that we know he can. It's nice to hear that he's hitting over I think he said 364 in the last 15 games. That's great. I, just like you, picked him to be competing with former Miami Marlin, Luis Arraez. Love you, Louis. I had them competing for the batting title, and I had X winning it as well.
I think the move to second base has helped him. Like, his mental approach at the plate. He doesn't have to worry about playing a position that isn't his natural position. He can just go up there and hit without worrying about taking, the defense into consideration. I mean, obviously he still has to focus on defense, but he's a natural second baseman. That's probably the position he's the best at and has the most experience at. And that play Saturday night in the 10th inning, I believe there was 1 out. It was the infield was in a grounder to him and just a quick snap throw to get him, like cross body almost on the run. It was a bang bang play, but really one of the best plays I've seen from a Marlins player out in the field. And when the bat heats up, X is your prototypical leadoff hitter. He's a good base stealer. I know he hasn't tapped into that as much this season. You wonder how much the back injury could have factored into it at the beginning of the season. But when the summer months continue, if X continues to stay hot, and we're sitting here July and August, I think he's going to start racking up the steals. He's going to continue racking up the singles. There was one play in particular. He was facing a righty, I believe, and it was a 98-mile-an-hour fastball right in on the hands, and he just inside-out swing, rips a double down the left field line. So opposite field base hit. I mean, that is Xavier Edwards at its finest. He can turn some of those singles into doubles. He can turn some of those, those hits that aren't exit velocity, Augustine Ramirez type hits. He can turn them into doubles when he places the ball well. That's what we see with a lot of players. Just go out there and hustle. Xavier Edwards is a really good ball player. I think for the Marlins, this is what I wonder when it comes to the middle infield and the future of the middle infield. Is Xavier Edwards your guy at second base, or is he at some point going to get traded? That's my question. Not now, but in the future.
Well, we discussed it and how I look at players. Is he a guy they're going to sign long term?
Probably
Probably
not.
not, because they have a lot of infield depth coming up that can be those guys. And by the time Xavier's time is up before he gets too expensive, those guys, the Max Acostas, the Cabas, the other guys that are down there, the Orlandos, the Carter Johnsons, they're going to be coming up and they have to play as well. You can't block them, right? They're your future. So I hope that X is here for the next 3 to 4 years. I'm
Yeah,
excited
he'll
to
be here
watch
for a
him.
while.
And overall, man, this weekend was great for him. I think that in baseball, when you have to be mentally prepared, knowing inconsistently, which they don't do, where you're going to be in the lineup, what's your role on this team. He is the one guy that doesn't change. He is your number one to lead off, and he is your true second baseman. So I'm happy that he's hitting again. It'd be nice to see him hit with a little bit of power sometime here and there, get a home run, and a cycle in the same game. I mean, has that ever happened to him before?
I don't know. I think against Milwaukee last year. Maybe.
First
If I'm
home
recalling
run
correctly.
and
Yeah,
only home
that was
run
it. Yeah.
in the cycle. So let's do it again.
That would be crazy. That would be awesome. Let's talk about the pitching staff really quick. Eury's coming back. We have Sandy. Cal Quantrill has improved over the last few starts. Edward Cabrera, I wanted to mention him against the Rays. Only 4 innings, 63 pitches before he got taken out. But he didn't look awful. It wasn't a situation where you look at the box score, 4 innings. No, he could have gone 5. He could have gone 6. For the most part, he battled. And that's a credit to Edward Cabrera and the way the last few weeks have been going. Hopefully, they, for whatever reason, they took him out early. Hopefully they let him go deeper into the games. I would think that the weather had something to do with it. If I'm being honest, it was so hot that day. And you could see visibly the weather affects these pitchers. It affects their stamina. So I'm going to chalk it up to that. But let's see here. You have Cabrera, Ryan Weathers. I have no worries with him. He's going to bounce back. Overall, this rotation suddenly becomes a lot more watchable and a lot more exciting and competitive.
It's a great rotation if they play up to their potential.
Yeah.
You hope Sandy returns to Cy Young for as long as he's here. You hope Eury ingests and digests whatever Sandy teaches him, and Call teaches him as a veteran in that rotation. Edwards the wild card because, again, I agree with you. It was weather related. It was really hot. Like you're watching
and
TV,
humid.
You don't live here in South Florida, my friend. But right now it is hot. It is humid. It was a 1:00 start in a stadium in the middle of nowhere that the sun is beaming on you. They was visibly, you could see how tired they were getting, and you don't want fatigue to start. So pulling them, that's the one time I'm okay with them pulling them a little bit early. And then you got Ryan Weathers. I'm going to go with the starts before this one, being what happened at the plate by Nick Fortes on Saturday. Weathers is going to be fine. The one guy I wish was healthy, and I hope he does get healthy, and I hope the hip thing's not a huge deal, is Max Meyer. I'd like to see what he does. I'd also like to see the guys get called up at some point, too. I want to see Snelling and Adam Mazier up here because I think they've done all they can do in the minors. But overall, this pitching staff can be one of the best if they are used correctly and given the opportunities that they deserve to go deeper into games if applicable.
I got to disagree with you on that last part. I think Max Meyer, I think we know what he is. He's struggled. He was a little bit of fool's gold at the beginning of the year. That Cincinnati Reds game had me absolutely stoked. And after that, it was an ERA above 7 the rest of the way. The fastball isn't good, and he just can't rely only on the slider to get him through 2-3 times through the lineup. So Max Meyer, I mean, when he returns, they're going to have to make a tough decision Because if Eury comes in, and now Eury's healthy, and the IL stint for Max has opened that position in the rotation, where does Max really fit in? If I don't know if they're going to go 6-man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Again, we don't know necessarily what the plans are long term for the Marlins rotation, given the potential trades. I mean, the trades are always a factor. I doubt Max Meyer's ability to be a consistent starter at this point. I really thought he had it at the beginning of the year, but now we're looking at a month and a half worth of really poor outings, and it's disheartening. And I gotta say, I'm not encouraged by his potential as a starter anymore.
I would like to see him get another opportunity, a couple opportunities throughout the season to see if he can stay in the rotation. A lot of the people who cover the Marlins weekly and daily, who I'm speaking about, they have always been wondering if he belongs in the bullpen as a long guy or if he is a starter. Yes, he was great at the beginning of the season, first 4, 5, 6 starts. Over the last couple of weeks, but we don't know how long he's been injured, right? You could say it's been just the last game, but, he didn't tell them he was in.
Nope, we might have lost LMF as we wrap this up here. That's okay. That's going to do it for today's. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Yeah, where did you lose me? I'm sorry. I was saying
you're talking about the Meyer injury.
Yeah, I don't know when he was injured, right? And when it really happened, because he held it back. So we don't know how long he was actually feeling. Was it the 3 starts he's been going downhill, or was it just the last start? He belongs in the rotation at least until the end. We're going to need him to pitch better. I like how Beloso looked in Sunday's game. So I'd like to see him in the rotation as well. We have a lot of guys. We got to see how they do.
We're going to see. And last thing before we get out of here, LMF, for those watching on YouTube, we did not coordinate the almost matching hats. Our hats are very similar in this episode here. I didn't even notice that.
Nice.
But it's always great talking with you. Kick off the week on Locked On Marlins. And for those listening, guys, have a great week. Stay safe. We'll be back tomorrow. Stay locked on, and let's go fish.